something that you just spoke about in your previous answer about, when you fall into trenches, that's where the real learning happens. And you told us a little bit about your co-founder at Goat, and about how he'd been through a number of failures himself. How did that attract you? You being such a successful person and him not coming off as the same success ladder. How did those two ends meet for you?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me first define success and failure as I see it, right? Success are two sides of the same coin, and failure could be the same thing, right? So, you could be at a certain level at a certain age, and uh, two of you could feel that you're successful, and one of you could feel that you're successful, and the other could feel you're not successful. What your mind tells you, like if your mind tells you that my goal is to be here by this year, and you get there, it might be success for you. But if somebody else has a different definition of success, he might say, okay, I'm only here by now, so it's not success, I need to do more, right? So therefore success and failure is really defined by you, and a lot of happiness also comes with that. So we should not say that somebody being in a high position is more successful than somebody who's not, because ultimately we all want to be happy, right? So somebody who's not climbed his career, but he's really happy at doing what he's doing and he's adding great value, then he's a successful person. So I would like to define this as success or failure. Uh, coming to your second point on my co-founder, interesting story is that when I quit my job and I was meeting different startups to really figure out what's happening in this whole startup community, what are people building. This was one of the brands that he had built from scratch, which was doing quite well. And I said, okay, let me support these guys. I put some angel money in his company. And a couple of months later, the company kind of went bust because they had been raising money from angels, and they had been building inventory to go with the sales that they had been getting, but planning was a little off, and therefore as COVID struck, they had a real cash problem and they were not able to come out of that, right?
Yeah.
Which told me both things, that one is that a lot of these founders need help, and second is that somebody like this who has seen the ups and downs of a startup is somebody that who would teach me a lot, because I would come from the other side where when you are in a large corporate, even if you make more mistakes, the corporate with its backing, with its deep pockets or its large infrastructure is able to cover up for some of them. But for startups, that's not the truth. If they are in their infancy, so if they make mistakes, either somebody bails them out or they just get out of business, right? So that's where I met him, and the fact that he's been through that journey was actually the success that he got, right? So he might be thinking that
Yeah.
I failed in my business, but that failure became a success because we decided to work together and we could raise some money. So the important thing was experience, and that's what actually counted in the end, rather than whether that brand that he was running actually got out of the woods or not. So therefore, I would say that each, as long as you're doing what you love, each of the things that you do is an experience. The outcomes may vary, and how you react to the outcome is really how you tune your mind, and therefore some could look at it as success or failure,
Yeah.
and could be happy or sad with it.
Yeah, I really love that definition of success as being one about experience and one about your own happiness. Because if you keep chasing success based on external factors or external designations, then you're just going to be in this constant cycle of anxiety and wanting more and never feeling fulfilled. That's definitely something that's really interesting to think about. And there was another thing you told us about, which was your shift from offline to the whole tech-based world, right? And you told us about how people were questioning whether you could make it given your age, and that it should be more of younger college students taking on this tech world. So could you tell us a bit about how you navigated that and what that experience was and how you're applying it to this current startup?
Yeah. So when I joined Flipkart in 2014, those early days of e-commerce in India, and Flipkart was really doing well in books, general merchandise, and electronics categories. Fashion was still seen as a category that would be done by verticals like Myntra and Jabong, rather than horizontals like Flipkart. And even in the US, Amazon had not been very successful in fashion, and they were trying very hard at that time. So when I joined, the whole team was a bunch of youngsters, very bright guys, very good with tech, data, analytics, but they were not from fashion background, and they had not had the experience that I had, and therefore bulk of the people in the team used to believe that there's a certain way of doing e-commerce, and people like me who had many years in offline would bring in an experience which is not relevant to the online world, right? So the first task for me was to really understand what they understand, which I don't understand, right? So really, even though it was an e-commerce world, things move very fast, but I took the time to really get in and understand their language, start to talk their language, start to talk the analytics and the data language that they were so used to and comfortable with, and then bring in the layer of fashion onto it. So, for example, just to give a small, simple example, in horizontals, one of the big metrics is that what is the conversion rate, and which is what are the units per visit. So, if you go 3 times, they would like to see how many units did you buy on 3 visits, right? Which means that a fast checkout is what they would like to do, which is very good metric for search categories. Like, you look for a book, did you find it? If you didn't find it in first go and you had to come again, which means something is broken in search and needs to be fixed, right? That's how the tech world sees the metric. However, when you come to fashion, if I come and say I want a shirt, the idea is not always to show you the best-selling shirt. Sometimes you could have just come and said, okay, show me shirts, where it might mean that take me to the shirt store and let me look around, right? Which means you would be wanting a browse behavior. But the tech guys would say, no, if books they buy very fast, why couldn't they buy fashion very fast, right? So that's how I brought in this whole concept of saying, let's not hurry it up, let them browse, right? So rather than putting a discount card up there where people would get bored by seeing 50, 60, 70% off and there was nothing new, we started putting out cards where we would show them what celebrities were wearing, what is the latest fashion trend, and get them to browse a little more and change one unit metric from units per visit to units per unique visitor, which means it didn't matter if Parth came 5 times in the month, as long as he bought, I'm happy, right? Yeah. Which meant that I was getting him to spend more time and come more often because I was showing him content which he loves. And if you see, most of offline retail happens like that when people come in, you say, just look around. If you like something, we're here to help you. Rather than saying, sir, what do you want? Like an OTC store, where they're selling, or liquor store where they just want you to come in and move out very quickly. So this brought in this whole, we started a project called Avatar, the tech teams got together, they built a whole experience module, and that started to show great results for us, which others were not doing it because they were still following the age-old practice of how tech had been built for horizontals. So that was my moment where I believed that, yes, I have kind of learned what these youngsters do. I have kind of been able to upgrade my knowledge to be as fast as them, as sharp thinking as them, as quick as them, because in offline world you are a little scared to make mistakes. Stakes are much higher. In online, you can fail fast and then still move forward. So I learned those bits, and then I brought in some of my experience, and then as you have a few successes from your past learning and you adopt the new learning, then you start to find the right balance and people kind of start to go with the projects that you are pushing for, right? So that's how the journey was. And therefore, as I start this new journey, most of the people who have joined me, like my first employee joined straight out of college. He was studying in IIT Chennai, and he had an admission in IIM Ahmedabad, which he postponed by a year. Now I feel at home working with such young guys who are half my age, because my mind has been tuned to them, right? That, on one side I can talk the deep fashion language, bring in the art side of it, and then there is the whole science side of it, which is based on data, technology, analytics, and therefore, love the confluence of both worlds.
Yeah, that's actually such an interesting anecdote that I'm so glad that you shared with us, because it perfectly demonstrated how all your fashion background and mixed with the tech and the data side of it worked so well together to improve the experience for customers. And I'm sure Goat Brands is going to help many other companies do that over the coming few years.